right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
St. Louis was sacked by the NFL, but was left a big sack of money. Tonight, the I-Team is tracking where the millions of Rams settlement dollars stand now.
Temperatures worked their way into the low 70s this afternoon, and that's actually right on average. But we're going to see more of this off to the southwest. Warmer air settling in, how warm it gets, and when we return to fall.
Our top story, the fighting intensifies in the Holy Land as Israel formally declares war on Hamas. Tonight, we hear from St. Louisans affected, including a teacher forced to bunker down.
It's an atmosphere filled with terror.
Tonight, government sources confirm several U.S. citizens are among those killed in the deadly attacks on Israel. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Maxwell. Mike Bush has the night off. Israeli Defense Forces are now unleashing relentless air attacks on the Gaza Strip as they continue to battle groups of Hamas fighters holed up in towns across the country. Hundreds on both sides are dead. We're told other Americans may also be among the hundreds kidnapped and taken into Gaza by members of the Palestinian militant group during yesterday's surprise attacks. The Pentagon now says U.S. ships and aircraft are moving closer to the region.
The focus now has to be on making sure that Israel has what it needs to deal with this attack and to make sure that its citizens are safe and secure.
Biden administration's move last month to unfreeze $6 billion in Iranian oil revenues in exchange for 5 American prisoners. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there's no evidence to Republican claims suggesting those assets helped Hamas fund the attack. There were rallies across the U.S. today, both in support of Israel and in support of the larger Palestinian cause. With emotions running high, security is being ramped up at synagogues and mosques nationwide. Here in St. Louis, both sides of the conflict are watching the developments closely. 5 on Your Side's Diamond Palmer has their reaction.
Well, Mark, Islamic and Jewish advocacy groups in St. Louis region are organizing aid efforts as they call on Congress and leaders in the Middle East to find a path to peace and stop the bloodshed.
Sunday, Israel officially declared war against the Palestinian military group Hamas. It comes after Hamas carried out surprise attacks in the Gaza Strip into southern Israel. Edward Ahmad Mitchell serves as the Council on American Islamic Relations National Deputy Director.
So the solution to this crisis is clear. In the occupation, a Palestinian state based on their original borders with East Jerusalem as their capital. That is what the Palestinian people have been asking for decades.
He says millions of Palestinians packed into the Gaza Strip have grown frustrated under Israeli rule.
So they're trapped with nowhere to go.
Israeli Defense Forces launched a counterattack striking military targets in the Strip in a bombing campaign.
So I'd encourage all Americans to call their member of Congress and say, look, I don't want my money going overseas to fund injustice. I want you to step in and say it's time for peace.
Brian Herstig is the president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. He says the attacks follow a painful history of Jewish people being kicked out of every country they've lived in.
There's an emotional connection that people have. And so we have many people from this community who have moved to Israel permanently, whose children are now serving in the military, who are being called up, who are fighting right now in this very war.
The Federation has worked with partners in Israel to continue bulletproofing schools, homes, and offices. Herstig calls the nature of the war unprecedented.
This is on a different scale. Never before have they breached Israeli borders, done hand-to-hand combat in the street with civilians.
The bloodshed quickly claimed hundreds of lives on both sides in densely populated territory.
It's too small of a country. Every single person has to help defend it.
Jewish federations of North America, including the one right here in St. Louis, say they're responding and working with victims to rebuild infrastructure and address trauma as the conflict continues.
Diamond, thanks. Tonight, Missouri's representatives are voicing their concerns about the conflict, prescribing very different pathways to peace. In a statement, Democratic Congresswoman Cori Bush said, quote, "We must do our part to stop this violence and trauma by ending U.S. government support for Israeli military occupation and apartheid." Republican Ann Wagner says, quote, "Israel has the absolute right to defend itself, and we stand with them unequivocally as they defend themselves against this unprovoked act of war." Pope Francis is calling for an end to the attacks and violence in Israel. During his weekly address in St. Peter's Square, the pontiff says he's following this with apprehension and sorrow. Tonight, a local teacher is bunkering down in Jerusalem. Madison Pines has been there for months teaching English to kids. The 22-year-old Marquette High School graduate says within minutes of the attacks, she was in a bomb shelter She has no idea when she can come home.
It's an atmosphere filled with terror. I mean, we see Israeli families being taken hostage. We are seeing rockets exploding in front of us. We don't know what's happening. The airport is currently shut down.
Pines is also worried for her friends who are on the front line. We'll continue to follow these latest developments on air and online at KSDK.com. You can also get updates on the 5 on Your Side app and 5+. Tonight, a 6-year-old boy is safe after an intense search this evening in North St. Louis County. Police say the boy walked out of his home on Bramble Lane around 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's off Thunderbird Avenue and Lindbergh in Florissant. K-9 and air support teams assisted in the search. Police say the boy was found about 4 hours later. A violent weekend for teens in St. Louis. Tonight, a 17-year-old is dead after a double shooting in South City. Ira Vera Hale was killed on South Compton across from Gravois Park around 3:30 this morning. A 16-year-old was also shot. He's expected to survive. And tonight, 2 boys ages 14 and 13 are recovering after being shot in North St. Louis. They tell police they were shot on Newberry Terrace near Page and Taylor around 8 last night. Both were shot in the legs. No word on arrests or motives in either shooting. St. Louis football fans are left watching football on TV, not in stadiums these days, but the Rams' departure could pave the way to a lot of opportunities. With millions of dollars and countless opportunities on the line, the I-Team's Christine Byers delves into where the money is now and what's next in that process.
As we watched a homeless encampment grow on the steps of City Hall just last week, there was one question that kept coming up.
If they use the $280 million in RAM settlement money, set up affordable housing, put them in apartments, they would do something.
Why not do it? What if your family member was out here? This is wrong.
With big cash comes big opportunities for a city stricken with problems. 911 delays, homeless benefits, infrastructure. So where's the money now? The Board of Aldermen has been asking for the public's opinions on how to spend it. The I-Team wanted to know their views. We asked all of the aldermen what they want to do with the money. Here's the responses we got. Healing the homeless issue, repairing water and street infrastructure, more tow and garbage trucks, downtown investments, and keep some of the money to grow interest. It all started when Stan Kroenke took the Rams out of St. Louis. Fans responded and were literally fiery. Years later, officials filed a lawsuit against Kroenke and the NFL and eventually struck a $750 million settlement. The settlement was divided among those 3 entities that sued. The Regional Sports Authority got $70 million, St. Louis County got $169 million, and the City of St. Louis got $250 million. $30 million of that went to the convention center. In the city, it's a gold mine at a time of challenges. The first Zoom meeting discussing where the money should go happened late last month.
We thought it was very important to create a hub, a home for all the community engagement that needs to happen around this very important once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
With opportunity comes controversy. The settlement money was scrutinized last year for sitting in a low-interest bank account. Leaders voted to change that, and as they decide to do with the money, it's already grown another $5.8 million. The online survey is open until this Friday. Then there are 2 more public meetings with the Board of Aldermen. Those are set for October 25th and December 2nd. For details on those plans and to see how your alderman responded, go to KSDK.com. For the I-Team, Christine Byers, 5 on your side.
If you have a tip for Christine and the 5 on Your Side I-Team, you can leave a voicemail at 314-444-5231 or email Christine at tips@ksdk.com. All those calls and correspondence will remain confidential. A personal artifact unearthed at the site of a former concentration camp.
This is historic and it needs to continue to be told.
Now it's keeping a local Holocaust survivor's memory alive. They're driving some St. Louis drivers in circles. Tonight, we're helping you navigate roundabouts to keep you on the move.
All quiet now and for the next couple of days, but we're already monitoring the system in the Pacific Northwest as it works its way onshore. That's responsible for a big change for us by midweek. What it's going to do to us and if it'll give us a better chance for rain the rest of the week.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
Now to an astonishing story as part of Mike Bush's Making a Difference segment. A bracelet has been unearthed in Germany and brought to St. Louis 77 years after it was made by a young teenager. That teenager made a difference as an adult just by telling his story. And he's still speaking to us years after he died.
If we could get everybody to please take a seat, we'll go ahead and start.
At the St. Louis Holocaust Museum, history is never forgotten.
Today is the perfect day for this important ceremony.
And on this day, a reminder why it's important to remember.
It is an honor to be here.
The museum is getting a new artifact, a gift from a man who died more than 5 years ago, but whose memory will never be buried.
He was quite a character. My father had an uncanny ability to just connect with people.
I hope that nobody that lives will ever experience.
Ben Feiner was a survivor of the Holocaust and one of the museum's most beloved ambassadors.
Years after he had passed away, visitors were coming and saying, is Ben still here?
It was very, very, very tough.
He'd often turn the pages of his life story to educate school children, church groups, even members of the military.
There was over 300,000 Jews killed in Buchenwald alone.
He was one of those people who could shine a light.
God bless you. You too. God bless.
Even after knowing darkness. Feiner was just 9 when the Nazis separated him from his family. Over the next 5 years, he was moved to 5 different death camps. He once told us it would be like marching from one hell to another.
You can't be scared. You have to think of only one thing, staying alive.
Of 260 relatives in the Feiner family, Ben and his father were among only 6 who survived. For years, he filed away the pain in the cellar of his mind. But a few years before his death in 2016, he let it all out in a book called Silent for 60 Years.
Once he started speaking, it was so healing for him to share his story and to be embraced by people.
And now his story has another chapter. Not too long ago, after receiving a stunning email, his daughter made a trip to Germany. On the grounds of Buchenwald, a concentration camp from 1937 to 1945, researchers unearthed an extraordinary rare artifact. A bracelet made by Ben Feiner.
It has my father's name in the center, and Erman is his mother's family name. My father carried his mother's family name at that time.
It is believed that Ben made the bracelet while working at a Nazi locksmith shop and was likely discarded when it was discovered upon his arrival at Buchenwald. On the left side of the bracelet, the number 178873, the same number the Nazis tattooed on Ben Feiner's arm.
Here, as a 14-year-old child of what he had been through, it's who I am, what they've done to me, the tattoo, the year that it happened. I mean, it's his identity in this piece of metal.
His spirit, his soul will remain here forever.
Back at the museum, which recently underwent a $21 million expansion,
ever so slightly, could you just tilt your hand?
This new artifact, gifted by the Feiner family, will be displayed in a place of prominence.
We have artifacts in the museum that really touch the heart. A child's shoe, a food bowl, an ID bracelet, a uniform, but they're not really associated with individuals necessarily. I think it's going to be very powerful and very moving.
The Holocaust was a failure of humanity, but Ben Feiner was a triumph of the human spirit.
This is his story, and it needs to continue to be told, and this is how it will continue for generations.
After a journey of more than 75 years and 4,600 miles, some sacred history has finally come home.
I think it's going to mean a great deal.
To learn more about the bracelet and the Holocaust Museum, you can watch our Race, Listen, Learn, Live Race special. You can stream it right now on 5+ and YouTube as we search for solutions to anti-Semitism. Beautiful fall weather today for some fall festivals around town. A big crowd turned out in Old Town Florissant. There were activities for the kids like face painting and some wine and cheese booths for the adults. And Notre Dame High School celebrated its 70th annual fall festival today. Besides Food, drinks, and games. There was a powder puff game between juniors and seniors and a teacher dunking booth. Meteorologist Gary Frank joining us now with the weather first forecast. Gary, we're not going to ask you any teachers of yours you'd like to put in the dunk tank there.
There's probably a lot of teachers that like put me in the dunk tank. That's going to shock you. I know, right? Probably both of us, actually.
Yeah.
No, we're, we started off so nice and cool this morning. It's that time of the year, right, where we're getting out and about and it's not quite as humid. I think that may change for a couple of days this week. But this morning, we even had some patchy frost. Not so much in the city. Once again, we haven't seen that widespread really cold air, but some of the valleys and the pockets like Salem, Rolla, cooled off, even in Chesterfield with 38 degrees. And right now, we're not headed toward that again, but it has cooled off nicely. We're at 57 degrees. One of the main things that I'll look at is our highs and lows pretty close to normal. This is where we should be this time of the year. We haven't talked about that too much. There you'll see the tail edge of that system with cloud cover and kind of the reason that we'd seen the breeze pick up just a little bit. We have a couple little small boundaries around, but enough to kind of switch our wind, and that's what we're going to see. You'll see that southwest breeze just a little bit. It's going to nudge us up enough where we're going to fall probably in the low 40s as opposed to mid to upper 30s in some cases. Just a few clouds hanging around as well. You can see where this kind of little nudge, you'll notice where those little wind directions are, but eventually that north breeze will win out, and actually it's going to be a little cooler tomorrow overall. As this exits, and then we're in the middle of this is what we're going to see most of the week. It's drier, but it's gradually going to warm up. I do want to point your attention to this, which I mentioned. It's our next system by the end of this week. We're already looking at this in the Pacific Northwest, and it's miles and miles and miles away, but it's going to have an impact on us from Wednesday into Friday, and that's what I want to talk about the most. It's our late week system, and this is probably why you've probably watched the temperatures come up several degrees or fluctuate, and also rain chances go in and out of the 7-day forecast. And I want to show you why, because as this warm front lifts north, that's where probably the focal point for rain is going to be. We're going to be on the dry side of that, and of course on the warm side. You'll know that by Thursday, I think it's actually going to be close to 80 degrees again, if not exceeding that in some cases. But there's the drag of colder air behind it, and we knew it was coming. But I think by Friday, you're going to see these warm mornings where we're going to start off where from Wednesday to Friday, you do not need a jacket. We're in the low 60s. It warms up quickly. But as Friday arrives, we're going to see this front finally push through, and we go to the mid 70s, and then we drop throughout the evening just in time for Friday night activities and football, things of that nature. And that's where we really settle back into the fall weather. I think as far as rain chances are concerned, maybe Wednesday morning, then it clears out. Once we get on the warm side, the dry side of that warm front, I just don't see it raining on Thursday except further to the north. And they're actually going to get some nice rain as the cold front moves through. That's going to be our best bet by Friday. So for the next few days, we go from 65 tomorrow, where it is chilly again. We have another one of those cool mornings Tuesday in the mid 40s. We start to nudge up rain chances on Wednesday morning, but a dry afternoon. Same for Thursday, breezy conditions, a few showers on Friday as that front passes. Then in time for our annual solar eclipse, maybe clouds around, but definitely much cooler next weekend.
Paul Cook here. I bring you traffic reports each morning on Today in St. Louis. It's been called the roundabout revolution, with more and more of them being built in the country and at intersections all around our community, like the ones here at 109 and 100 in Wildwood. You can see there's 3 of them there. Why are they being built in our area? The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety says roundabouts reduce accidents by 39% and serious crashes with injuries by 90%. And get this, they cut traffic jams by as much as 75%. But there's still a bit of a learning curve. 5 on your side viewer Jen Braswell told me she avoids traffic circles or roundabouts. She said she knows how to use them, but a lot of people just haven't gotten the hang of it. So it's time to hit the classroom for some Roadways 101 with useful reminders about roundabouts from the Federal Highway Administration. Remember to slow down, look around, and be ready to yield, they say. You'll always yield to traffic that's already on the roundabout. If the circle has more than 1 lane, enter it in the lane you want to be in after exiting the roundabout. There'll be directions. They say stay in your lane and don't turn right from the left lane or left from the right lane. If it's still a bit confusing, do some homework. Drive one slowly when it's not crowded. You'll get the hang of it. Good luck. Paul Cook, 5 on your side.
And you can see Paul's traffic reports weekday mornings on Today in St. Louis from 4 to 7 a.m. A football game under the Sunday night lights. A moment of fun tonight for kids tackling serious issues off the field. Metro's Call a Ride is back in service tonight for the second time this week. Rides were halted because of a cyber attack that took out phones and scheduling software. The service provides transportation for people with disabilities. Metro says customers who had reservations for tomorrow will get a ride. Reservations are being taken for Tuesday and Wednesday. If for some reason you have trouble getting through, they want you to keep calling back. The Sunday night lights were on at Lindbergh High School tonight. It was for a special football game with a homecoming-like atmosphere. The players were kids battling cancer and other serious illnesses. They could also cheer from the sidelines or march with the band. The event, now in its 14th year, raises money and awareness for families dealing with childhood cancer. The proceeds also go to the Siteman Cancer Center. Hundreds showed up in Tower Grove Park this morning for the PKD walk. The annual event raises money for research of polycystic kidney disease. It affects around 600,000 Americans. The only treatment now is a kidney transplant. Organizers say it can take years to find a donor. Holiday bargains before Halloween. The deals on Amazon that can save you at other stores. Tomorrow night, you have another opportunity to become a billionaire. No one matched all 6 numbers in last night's Powerball drawing. Tomorrow night's jackpot has swelled to more than $1.5 billion, the third largest lottery prize in U.S. history. Target Circle Week is over, but the early holiday bargains are not. Amazon is holding its second Prime Day event of the year. Prime Big Deal Days runs Tuesday and Wednesday. Prime members can expect to save on electronics, toys, home items, and gift cards from participating stores. That's all of our time for 5 on your side at 10. Now, here's Frank Cusimano with Sports Plus.